It's Richard Mills from Upschool here. For more amazing free lessons like this one, create a free account at upschool.co, and we can't wait to see you on our platform.
Okay, lovely. Well, we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to have everybody here this week. As you know, each and every week we run a live lesson on a Wednesday at exactly this time. So if you have fun this week and you like what you are learning, then it would be a wonderful idea to share this experience with your friends or the people that you know, your classmates, and tell them about exactly what we do each and every week and share the experience. Okay, so while we are getting ready, a couple of things you might need to know. Today we're going to be looking at information reports. We're actually going to be looking into history, and we're going to be telling a really, really amazing story. This story is literally going to blow your socks off. It's a story which I find extremely amazing, and I'm sure you will too. Now, just to let you know, if you want to put your cameras on, you can. It would be nice to see some people. If you want to put those on, that's completely fine. If not, that is also fine too. Okay, so just before we get started, a couple of things you're going to need today, guys. Don't forget, you're going to need a piece of paper, just like this. You're going to need a pen, just like that. And you're going to need a ruler this week. So make sure you are ready. Now, probably lots of you have heard of information reports before, and you might have thought to yourself, oh, information reports, I think they're quite boring, aren't they, Gavin? Well, actually, they can be really, really interesting. And this week, I hope to make you feel really, really interested in exactly what we're going to be talking about. This week, we're going to be talking all about history. History can be fascinating, but history is filled with stories. Okay, so first thing we're going to do on our piece of paper, and welcome to our Rise Grade 7 Experimental School. Hello, everybody. Can I just say before we start, I love the work you are doing on the Be the Change course. I saw you painted your school walls and you made your wall of connection, so well done. Just as I look at the camera, make sure you have a piece of paper in front of you, a pencil and a ruler. I can see some people don't have it, and we are about to begin. Okay, everybody, welcome. So on your piece of paper at the top, as we always do, it is extremely important that we put the title. Let's just set the scene. And our title is obviously Information Reports. Just like this. If you can write that at the top, nice and neat, that would be fantastic. Now, today you're going to learn a story in history. We're going to go back about 70 years. It's not too far back, but it's quite a way back to an amazing story about the pigeon. And you might think, the pigeon? Gavin, really? Do I really need to learn about pigeons? They're just birds that hang around in the city, pecking at little scraps of bread or seeds. Let me tell you, if you think that a pigeon is just a little bird that flies around the city eating scraps of bread or seeds, think again. By the end of this lesson, you are going to realize that pigeons are actually heroes. And they gave us all the freedom that we have today. And you're thinking, Gavin, come on, this can't be true. Well, it is true. Okay, let's get started. So we've got the title. Now we're going to write down some keywords here. Keywords are really important because these are the words that we're going to use this week and the words that you are going to need to know. Some of them you might already know. I like to get two colors here because I'm going to write the word down and then I'm going to tell the group what the word means. This week, we're going to have 3 keywords, just like this. Okay, so keyword number 1. Let's make sure we're ready, everybody. That would be lovely. I can see there's a lot of movement in grade 7. I'll wait for grade 7 to be ready. When they're ready to go. All right, let's get cracking. So our first keyword is history. History. And we're going to try to define these words in really simple terms. I'm going to put a little arrow here to make mine look really beautiful. I like to make my keywords look really nice. So history. If I had to define history really simply, I would say that it happened in the past. Here we go. So it happened in the past. If it happened in the past, it is history. What happened yesterday is history. What happened last week? This is history. What happened 3 million years ago? This is also history. It happened before. It happened in the past. Okay, our first key, and we're going to be working on this week 100%. Next one is information. Information. I need some information about a subject. What am I doing? What is information? Information is very easy to define. It is the facts. I want the facts. And what I really want, I'll put this in brackets here for you guys, I want the real facts. I don't want the made up facts. I want the real ones. And so today, just before I get into the lesson, I want you all to know that the story I'm about to tell you is a story which is true. And I know it's true because I researched the facts. I found out exactly what happened, and you need to do that too, which is brilliant. And the last one is going to be a report. If I am making a report, what am I doing? If I'm going to make a report on something, I am going to round up. I'm going to round up the facts. I'm not going to tell every single detail. I want to know in sequence all the things that happened, when they happened, and what actually happened. I'm going to round up those facts, and I'm going to put them into an interesting procedure or a sequence. Okay, let's round it up just like this, and we'll put a line just underneath like that. Now, your next job is trickier. This is where you have to have a bit of a creative eye. Okay, so what I'd like you to do on this one is just do me a favor, divide your paper into 2 halves, just like this. I hope you're feeling creative down there in grade 7 and you're feeling artistic. Okay, on this side over here, please, guys, I'd like you to write the word pigeon for me if you don't mind. Wonderful. You're doing a sterling job, everybody. Okay. We're looking good. So we've got the information. Today we're talking about history. We're looking at the information and we're talking about a report. And a report is where we round up all of those facts. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of what we're learning this week. Now, this week, you have to listen really, really carefully. I'm going to tell you a detailed story, okay? And in this story, there's going to be a lot for you to learn. And what I want you to do, as we tell the story, I want you to make some notes. I'd like you to make some notes, and I'm going to show you how to make those notes in just a second. Don't worry about that. Okay, first things first. Let's get into today's presentation. I'll just introduce myself for those people who don't know me. My name is Gavin McCormack. I'm welcoming everybody today. I can see I have lots of regular people who come every single week. I'm so happy that I have people who come every week. And welcome from me. I love the fact that you come every week. It makes me feel very, very happy. When this lesson is over, I'm always feeling so happy that you all came along. Let me tell you about today's plan so you understand what's going to be happening today. Keywords we've already done. Next, we're going to be talking about information reports. Then I'm going to be telling you a historical story. The historical story is going to be amazing. I'm not joking you. You've never heard a story like this one before. Then we're going to be having a quiz. There are going to be 4 questions in the quiz, guys. You'll need to be listening very carefully if you're going to get all 4 questions right. And then I'll give you the answers. And then I'm going to send you off with an extension activity. Are we all good? Give me a thumbs up if you're all good and you're ready to go to the next section. Beautiful. That's amazing. Okay, so first things first, guys, let's understand a little bit about the pigeon. Now, you may think to yourself, I know everything about pigeons already, Gavin. There's nothing you cannot tell me. Well, let's have a chat. What I'd like to do on the piece of paper that we've got here, and I'll just go back first of all to my first screen here. Can you see the picture of my pigeon just there? What I'd like you to do on your piece of paper in front of you is on this side over here, I'd like you to try, first of all, to draw me the pigeon if you don't mind. I'm also going to try my best to draw the pigeon too. So let's try on this side here to draw the pigeon. I'll flick back to the screen so you can see it. Here it is. Off you go. I'll give you 2 minutes. And if you've finished, you might want to give your pigeon a little bit of color to make it look nice and bright. Always a good idea to do that. I'm just going to shade mine in a little bit because today we're going to be talking all about pigeons. It's very important we understand them. Okay, so let's have a look at, here's mine. Mine's not very good. I've tried my best, but here's my pigeon. I'm doing my best. I'm sure you are too, on the right-hand side. What we need to do, actually, my neck's a bit long. Oh, it's very good. Some nice pigeons there. Let's have a look at actually the things that we don't know about pigeons already. Take a look at my screen here. I'm going to read you some facts. And on the left-hand side of your piece of paper, just here, I'd like you to write down the facts for me just like this. This is our research. We need to know about pigeons before we can start. So just here, we're going to write down some facts and I'm going to read them out to you and I'm sure that you're going to be amazed. So fact number 1, this is very cool. Pigeons can find their way home from 1,700 kilometers away. So if you take a pigeon very, very far away from his home or her home, they can find their way back home. They don't need a map. They don't need a compass. They don't need Google Earth. They can fly all the way home on their own. How amazing is that? That's pretty amazing. I don't even think human beings could find their way home from 1,700 kilometers without a map. That would be very, very hard indeed. So that's fact number 1. Try and write that down on your piece of paper. Fact number 2. This one's even better. Pigeons can tell when there is going to be a storm way before human beings can. If there's a storm coming, a pigeon can hear it in the wind. Human beings can't hear storms coming in the wind. They can hear them way before they even arrive, and then they can move to a place where there isn't going to be a storm. That's fact number 2. Make sure you're taking some notes here, guys, and writing these down. You'll need these in a second. Fact number 3. This is very rare for animals to be able to do this. I have 2 pet cats, and they cannot do this. Fact number 3. Pigeons can recognize themselves in the mirror. If you put a mirror in front of a pigeon, it can recognize itself. It looks in the mirror and says, "Ooh, that's me in the mirror. I look fantastic today. I really should clean my beak a bit more. It's looking a bit dirty." Pigeons can recognize themselves in the mirror. Fact number 4, and this is what we're going to talk about today. Pigeons helped to end World War II. And you may have heard all about World War II before in your history lessons. It was a huge problem for the world and we couldn't solve the problem, but don't worry. Pigeons stopped the war. How amazing. I bet you're very excited to think, I wonder how that happened. Fact number 5. It's very, very hard to spot a baby pigeon. And I challenge anybody in this lesson today, when it's finished, let's see if you can find a baby pigeon. I think you will not be able to spot one. In fact, I don't think anybody in this lesson today has ever seen a baby pigeon. I certainly haven't. And there's a reason why, but I won't tell you. You can figure that out for yourselves. And fact number 6, people raise pigeons as a sport. I don't really agree with this one. I think pigeons should be allowed to fly around on their own, but this is something that does happen. And I've left a wonderful picture there for you. Look at this girl. She has pigeons all over her head. She's looking very, very happy indeed. Okay, now the question is, how did pigeons really end the war? Well, we're going to tell that story in just a second. But before we do, I will need you to take some notes. So what I'm going to do, guys, and I'm going to share my screen with you in just a second. Can you see the picture on my screen just there? We're going to make one just like it. Let me flick to my overhead camera. I'll need you to get a blank piece of paper just like mine. And what we're going to do, we're going to make a document to let us take some notes today. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to put the title up here. This is going to be information report, and you'll need this throughout the whole of today's lesson, which is about to start. Information report in your book, just like this. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw myself those boxes that you saw on your screen before, which look just like that. Don't worry, I'll do it with you, so you'll be able to see exactly what we're doing. Over here, guys, we're going to draw one box just like this. You can do the same. You don't need to use a ruler. This is just for taking notes. Over here, we're going to draw another one, nice and big, just like this. Underneath, 2 smaller ones, just like that. And then at the very bottom, a very big, long one, just like this. Now, you might be thinking, why am I doing all of these boxes? Well, these help you to take notes. I'm about to tell you a very long story. And while I'm talking, what I would like you to do on this piece of paper here is write down anything that you hear which sounds really interesting. If I say something really interesting, like a date or a fact or a really interesting thing, I want you to take a note down here, or maybe even draw a picture. So let's give some headings to these boxes. This one here is where you are going to have an image, and you can do that later on, don't worry. So in the first box on the left-hand corner, you'll have an image in here. This is where you'll put your picture. Over this one here, this is going to be when. So here we want to know, when did the story happen? In this box down here, guys, I want you to write the word where. Where did the story take place? This box over here, you're going to write down the title, problem. What was the problem that we were facing? And down here, and this is the really, really important bit, this is what we call the solution. What was the solution to the problem? Okay, when you are ready, put your thumbs up or your hands up so I can see, and then we will start with today's wonderful story. What I would like you to do today, obviously, guys, I would like you to take lots and lots of notes. So, as you can see, you should have something that looks a little bit like that in your books. Okay, so grade 7, are we ready? Put your thumbs up if you're ready, or do you need a bit more time? No problem. I can wait a few more minutes, not an issue. And year 2 kindy, they are ready, which is wonderful. Yes, I can see you're holding your book up. Thank you for showing me. What about Sarah? Sarah, is Sarah ready to go? Wonderful. All right. Okay. All right. Let's get started. Now, this is where you have to listen really carefully, guys, to this next part. The next part is where I'm going to give you lots and lots of information. So you have to listen carefully. Now, when you hear something interesting or something you think you need to remember, that is when you take a note and you put it down on your notes on the boxes we have just drawn. All right. Okay. Are we ready, grade 7? Are we ready to go? Is grade 7 ready? Yes. What about Anand? Anand, are you ready, sir? Can you let me know if you're ready? Wonderful. Wow. Okay, we're all ready to go. Let's get moving then. Okay, so let's flick straight over to my story and let's get cracking with this. Now, I'll give you a clue, by the way. I'll give you a clue. Okay, so here we go. Let's get started. I'm going to tell you a long story. Now you need to listen really carefully. And I'll give you a clue. When I hear something interesting, I'll tell you, hey, by the way, guys, you might want to write that down. Okay, and remember, at the very end, we're going to have a quiz, and there's going to be 4 questions for you to answer. So you have to listen really, really carefully. Okay, let's get started. Let's go back in time. Welcome to 1945. Now, 1945 is around about 70 years ago. Now, 70 years ago on Earth, there was something terrible happening. There was a war, and it was called a world war. In fact, it was called World War II. Now, it was happening mostly in a continent called Europe, okay? And this was a little bit troublesome, but everybody wanted the war to end. And if you have a look at the map there, you'll be able to see some of the countries it was impacting: France, Ireland, Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Greece, Spain, Sweden, the UK, Italy. But it was also affecting the whole world. Everybody wanted it to be over, but we didn't have a solution. Now, maybe you can answer one of your questions there on your notes. Remember, you see the box that says when? And you see the box that says where? Maybe it's this one here. We now know when, and we now know where. Maybe we can write a few notes down that we can remember. I will go back to my overhead screen so you can see the facts. So when was it happening, and where was it happening? You might want to write down a little bit of key information. So we know when and we know where. And if you don't know the answer, you can talk to the person next to you and say, hey, where was it happening? What was the date? Wonderful. Now, as we know, war is never good. Nobody likes war, so we all wanted it to be over, but we had a big problem, especially this guy. This is a pilot. And this pilot is flying a kind of plane called a Spitfire, which was very famous in those times. Now, Britain is where I was born. Now, the British Army was trying to get to Germany. Now, if you fly across Europe, it's trying to get to Germany to stop the war. But there was a big problem. Britain was trying to fly there, and hidden in the country called Belgium, there was a very big gun hiding somewhere. And the pilots were too scared to fly over this country in case they were hit by the gun. This was a huge problem. So they couldn't get to Germany to stop the war. They were too scared. And you can see on this pilot's face, he's looking pretty scared straight away. Now, I know on my screen here, I know something else now. Remember this box? Problem? I now know the problem. Can you write down the problem for me, please? What was the problem that we were facing here? There was a problem. And you can also add another place because we know another country that was involved. Let me go back to my slide over here. So have a little look. So the British Army, they wanted to fly over into Germany, but there was a big gun hiding somewhere in a country called Belgium, and they were too scared to fly there. Obviously, you don't want to be flying over a place where there's some big guns hiding somewhere. That's a big problem. Now, there was a huge issue with this. Let me continue. We do it. By the way, are we taking notes? Are we getting lots of notes down here? Sarah, have you got some good notes on your piece of paper? You'll need them a bit later on. Good, yes? All right, yes, wonderful. All right, let's continue with the story. here we go. If only they knew where the gun was hidden. This is a problem. It could be anywhere. The problem was it could be in the forest. It could be in the mountains. It could be hidden in an old building, or it could be hidden in a valley. Any of these places. Now, the British did not know. They couldn't go there to find out. They had no idea where the problem was. But suddenly, they found a solution. And you're probably thinking, you know the answer. The solution was a pigeon. But how could a pigeon possibly help them? This sounds impossible, Sarah, doesn't it? How could a pigeon possibly help them? You can't send a pigeon over there and say, hello, could you fly over to Belgium and tell me where the problem is? But we do know one really, really interesting thing about pigeons, don't we? Remember this fact, everybody. It was on your list. Remember this fact. We know that pigeons can always find their way home. They can always find their way home. So if we take them somewhere, they'll fly back to their home. We know that. So let's find out what they did to solve the problem. Here we go. And you're not going to believe this one, guys. The plan was this. Here's the plan. Pigeons were the plan. Now, pigeons know how to find their way home. So here is what happened. Look at the top of your screen, you see an aeroplane. The aeroplane flew into the sky and flew close to Belgium. And in the aeroplane were lots of pigeons. And you can see this pigeon here in a little basket. Just enough space for the pigeon to be fine and no problem whatsoever. The pigeons had a little parachute on their back, and they were dropped out of the aeroplane, and they floated peacefully down to the land in Belgium. You might be thinking, Gavin, this is terrible. They're going to be stuck inside a little basket. What's going to happen to the pigeons? Aha! Don't you worry about it. Pigeons were all landing on the ground. Now, remember on your piece of paper, you had this here. The solution. This is where we need to start writing some notes now. We've got a kind of solution. Now, if I don't want to write some words, I might actually just draw a parachute here, just like the picture, like this, to remind myself. And I might write a little note. Remember, this is just for notes. You don't need to write this neatly. This is just for you taking some notes down. So the aeroplane flew into the sky, as we saw before, and in the aeroplane were lots of pigeons, and the pigeons were in a little basket. Nice and comfortable, lots of room for them, and the pigeon basket had a parachute, and they floated down and landed on the ground. Now, the next part, you're not going to believe the next part. You're going to say, Gavin, it can't be true. But I'm telling you, it definitely is true because I did my research. I found out the real facts. So the pigeons landed on the ground in Belgium in their little basket. Now, you won't believe this one, but look at the left-hand picture. Inside the basket, the pigeons had three really special things. First of all, each pigeon was wearing a little pigeon backpack. A little pigeon backpack. Can you believe that? Exactly, Sarah. They were wearing a pigeon backpack. And you can see my picture there. Look at the pigeon. He's got a little backpack on. It's just like you going to school. A little backpack on the pigeon's back, no problem. Now, inside the backpack were some special things. How amazing. There was a map. A map of Belgium was in the back of the backpack, and it was all folded and could be unfolded. And there was also a note. And I'm going to read you the note. The note says this. Hello, thank you for finding me. My name is Harry, and I am a carrier pigeon. Please take the map out of my backpack and draw an X exactly where the gun is hidden so that we can avoid it and end World War II. Then set me free, please. So what happened was people who were walking around in Belgium, They were walking through the forest. They found a pigeon on the floor in a little basket. They opened the basket. Inside, there was a pigeon wearing a backpack. They opened the backpack, and in the back of the backpack, there was a note that said exactly that, and there was a map. So, if you can imagine what happened next, people who found the pigeon, they took out the note, and they found the map, and the map was of Belgium, and they put a big X right in the perfect spot, like this. And then the person who found it, they folded up the map just like this. They folded it up nice and tight, and they put it back in the backpack on the back of the pigeon. And then they set the pigeon free. They let the pigeon fly off into the sky. Now, where do you think the pigeon went? Do you think the pigeon just flew off anywhere and went to a local forest? No. These pigeons, as we know, they know how to do something really, really special. They know how to fly home. So they flew all the way home back to Britain. They flew all the way home. And when they arrived in Britain, the British Army collected the pigeon, went to the backpack, opened the backpack, and when they opened the backpack, what they found was, oh, okay, inside there's the map. They opened it, aha, and they knew exactly where the guns were hidden. And then this is exactly what happened next. So, the people who found the pigeons read the note and they followed the instructions carefully. They knew that this might work. So they carried the pigeon away, they read the note, they marked the spot on the map, and then they set the bird free. Now, on your piece of paper at the bottom here, in solution, guys, down here, do me a favor, take a few notes to remember this. Look at A, B, C, D. They will help you. You can even draw the pictures if you like. You can do the pictures just like this. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do the note just like this. And I'm going to do my map with a big circle around it. And then finally, I'm going to draw my birds flying away. I'm going to put A, B, C, and D. Now, I told you this story was going to be pretty amazing. I bet you didn't realize it was going to be so amazing. Okay. Just take a note, please, if you don't mind. So, Himanshu, if you can take a note in your on your notes, that would be great. You're going to need these notes later. I can see that grade 7 are doing an amazing job. Well done, grade 7. So people found the pigeons, they read the note, they marked it on the map, and they set them free, and the birds flew all the way back to Britain. So I guess what happened next is the question. What happened afterwards? What happened next? Well, the pigeons knew their way home. Of course, when the pigeons arrived in England carrying the maps, the British planes knew exactly where the guns were hidden, and they were able to avoid the area. The pilots weren't scared anymore. They knew where they were hidden, and they flew around, and this was not a problem. This was the greatest solution of all time. And in 1945, and this is something you definitely need to write down in your when section, guys. In 1945, the war was over. What a celebration. And as you can see, the lady, she is putting her arms nice and wide because the birds have saved the day. So in 1945, the war was over, and it was all thanks to the amazing navigational skills of the pigeon. You see, if the pigeon didn't know its way home, we'd have a huge problem. But luckily, pigeons are so smart. And here's what I would like to say to all of you, all the children at Rise Experimental School in year 7, in year 9, in year 8. I'd like to say this to Kamal. I'd love to say this to Himanshu, to Sarah, to year 2 and Kindy. I would like to say this to everybody. The next time you are walking through the city and you see a pigeon, I don't want you to look at that pigeon and think, oh, it's just a bird pecking away at some old twigs and branches and bits of bread. I want you to go over to the pigeon and say, hey, Mr. Pigeon, thank you so much. I didn't realize how amazing you are, because actually pigeons are heroes. And now you know. But what I also want you to do is tell this story to somebody else. When you get home tonight, tell the story to somebody else. Say, hey, Mom, Dad, did you know that pigeons are heroes? Your mum will say, oh, pigeons aren't heroes. It's just a bird pecking on bits of bread and scraps. Say, no, Mom, Dad, pigeons are heroes. Sit down and let me tell you a story. And then you tell them this story. It's very, very important. Okay, now we're going to be moving on to a quiz in just a second. I've got 4 questions for you. Before we go to the quiz, before we start the quiz, so Anant, before we start the quiz, here is what I would like you to do. I'm going to give you just 2 minutes with the person next to you. And I can see over there in lots of schools, there's lots of groups working together. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Turn to the person next to you and tell them the story. Try to tell them without looking at your notes. All right? 2 minutes on the clock. Off you go. I'll be back in a second. So let's see you talking to the people next to you. I want you to try your best to tell them the story. And as soon as you have told it, we're going to have the quiz. Try to tell it in your own words. What happened in this story? Who did what? Where did it happen? What were the dates? What were the key facts? So Anand, let's see you talking to the person next to you and telling the story, please, as best as you can, with the facts and the dates. Just another 30 seconds, and then it's time for our quiz. Okay, so we'll leave it right there for now until we get started with our quiz. Okay, so what we've understood now is that animals are absolutely phenomenal. And sometimes they are so phenomenal that they can actually show humans exactly what to do. We shouldn't think that just because we're human beings that we are the most intelligent. In fact, animals sometimes make us look really silly. They are so smart that they can really help us a great deal. Okay, it's time for the quiz. So here's what I would like you to do, guys. I would like you to close your books, hide your notes, turn over your piece of paper. I don't want you to look at the notes you've taken. Let's see if you were listening. So Sarah, pop that book away. Very good. And I would like you please to write down in your book, if you can, the numbers 1 to 4. We're going to have 4 questions. So I'll just show you very quickly on mine. Number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Okay, pop those down in your book. Now remember, we want you to do this on your own. Have a little think. What can I remember from today's lesson? And I'm going to set you off with a challenge for next week. Okay, let's go. Here are your quiz questions. I'm going to read them out to you one at a time. Let's see if you can figure them out. Okay, question number 1. In which continent was the war taking place? Which continent was the war taking place is your first question. To this page for you. I've put a little clue for you there, guys, that you can see. If you have a look, you'll see the clue. The picture A gives you a clue. If you look really, really closely, it might help you if you're stuck with question number 1. Okay, let's go to question number 2. In which country was the gun hidden? Which country was the gun hidden? This is what we want to know next. Where was it hidden? Which country was that in? Have a think about it. Try to remember. Was it Sweden? Was it France? Was it Italy? Which country was the gun hidden? Okay, let's go to question number 3. Question number 3. What 3 things did the pigeon carry in its backpack? Ooh, what 3 things were in the back of the backpack? And question number 4. Question number 4. In what year did the war end? Ooh, we'll be revealing the answers in 1 minute. So your 4 questions. In which continent was the war taking place? In which country was the gun hidden? What 3 things did the pigeon carry in its backpack? And in what year did the war end? And I must warn you, one of the questions that I've asked you is a trick question. So be very careful. All right, let's go through the answers if we can. Here we go. So our first question, which continent? And you want to put your hands up or give me a thumbs up if you get the answer right. That would be very, very cool. Here we go. Which continent was the war taking place? It was taking place in Europe. It's the right answer. If you got it correct over there, by the way, well done. Give yourself a big fat tick like me. Obviously, I got the answer right because I asked the question. So I'm not cheating, by the way, Sarah, just to let you know. Okay, question number 2. In which country was the gun hidden? Ooh, this was Belgium. This was Belgium. This is a very small country in Europe. Question number 3. What 3 things did the pigeon carry in its backpack? Uh-oh, this was a trick question. There were only 2 things in the backpack. Very good, Sarah. There was a map in the backpack. Very good, Sarah. I saw you putting your 2 fingers up. There was a map in the backpack. And there was also something else very important in the back of the backpack. What was it? Here you go. You'll see on here, there was a note in the backpack too. A map and a note. Really cool. And your final question. In what year did the war end? Well, the war ended in 1945. And I'm going to give myself a tick. And I'm going to say that I got 4 out of 4. Well done, by the way, those guys who showed me their card. Nice to see your answers down there. Well done, Anant. Really cool. And you were having a lot of fun. Now, before we continue, guys, I've got a couple more things to tell you. Before we do this, I'm going to set you off with your task. Okay? This is something you can do just because this lesson has finished. So we're about to come towards the end of this lesson now. And just because we're finishing, it doesn't mean that the lesson is over. What we want you to do this week is we want you to turn what we've just heard into a real information report. We want you to continue telling this story. Now, you can do anything you want. It can be a model, a diagram, a painting, a piece of art. You can do a comic strip. You could write a storybook. You could even do a picture book and publish it on the Upschool platform and have your own book there. That's fantastic. I want you to retell this story in your very own words. You could even write a school play, and you could even be the pigeon. That would be very cool. There are many ways to represent it. So what I would like you to do this week, guys, this is your task. Have a look at your screen just here. Your task is this: turn this story into a detailed information report. Now, as usual, I always love to receive your work. So if you do this work, if you complete it and you do something spectacular, you do a dance or a show or a play or a model, or you make a comic strip or a stop motion animation, or you do a diorama, something very, very cool. I can see Sarah's going, Mom, I want to do a diorama. Can I make that? Of course you can make that. If you can imagine it, I want to see it. Now, if you do something unbelievable, really unbelievable, I want you to send it to me. Okay, I'm going to write down. Last week I received 2 amazing emails, and they were people's work. They were really good. I would like you to send it to me. And here is where you can send it. Gavin at upschool.co. If you do something amazing, take a picture and send it here, because I would like to show the rest of the world your amazing work. That would be phenomenal. Okay. So, to finish off today's lesson, I have a very special treat for you guys. Okay, a really, really special treat that I want to share with you. And what I'd like to do, guys, is just show you something very, very cool. Very cool indeed. Take a look at your screen right here. What you're going to see is that we are going to have a little story time at the end of today. Now, before I even start to tell you this story, guys, I need to share something with you. It's really, really important. What you're about to see a story. And this story you're about to see is not a story written by me. It's not a story written by a very famous author in your bookshops. This is a story written by a child who published a book using our course, Write a Book to Change the World. And this is a story I want to share with you, and I want to read to you. Now, if you like what you see, I want you to think to yourself, Gavin, I also want to be a published author. I want to write my own book. And I know some of you have already done it, and you've already published your books, and they're waiting, and some of you have started. Some of you are in the middle of doing that. So, should we have a read of this book? It's called So Much Rubbish. Goodness me. Let's have a look at what the story tells us. Here we go. Let's turn the pages. This book is dedicated to Mom, Dad, and my sister. Here we go. Wow. By the way, everybody, look at these illustrations. Aren't they beautiful? It's like a real book. It's like the kind of book you would buy in a bookshop. This is exactly what you can do. It was a beautiful day at the Great Barrier Reef. The wind was peaceful, and the waves were small and calm, and the water was as warm as a blanket in the reef. In the reef lived a young green sea turtle named Sheldon. He lived with his 5 sisters, 5 brothers, and his mum in a red house made from coral. What a fantastic start this is. And look at those pictures. Sheldon was enjoying his delicious breakfast when he heard a knock at the door. He quickly chomped up and paddled to the door. He opened to see who was there. It was his best friend, Manty the Manta Ray. Would you like to play with me? He asked Sheldon. Oh, yes, he said. Let's go. And he announced it with joy. By the way, how good is this story? Sarah, how good is this? This is very cool. Look at those pictures. So Sheldon and Monty swam off to play, and they both agreed to play hide and seek. But it isn't any fun with only 2 friends. Hey, we should find our good friend Bubbles, said Sheldon. I'm over here, said a shy voice coming from under the rock. It was Bubbles, a little purple octopus. Wow, how amazing. She swam up to them and gave them a big hug. Since she had 8 arms, she can give 4 hugs at a time. How cool. That's right, octopuses can give 4 hugs at a time. Suddenly, a small shadow rolled over them. There was something floating on top of the water. Dum, dum, dum! Sheldon, Monty, and Bubbles swam up to see exactly what it was. Oh, no! Sheldon got stuck like glue to paper. Monty and Bubbles grabbed Sheldon. They pulled and pulled and pulled, but the bag, the rubbish, was still stuck to him. Then someone swam past. It was Monty's cousin, Milo. I'm stuck, yelled Sheldon. I will help, yelled Milo. Everyone's trying to help. Look at this. 2 manta rays and I and an octopus pulled and pulled and pulled, but Sheldon was still stuck. Then there was 3 little crabs dancing past. I'm stuck, cried Sheldon. So they came over to help too. 3 crabs, 2 manta rays, 1 octopus pulled and pulled and pulled, but Sheldon was still stuck. They almost gave up, but then they saw 4 clownfish dash by. I will never get out of this, Sheldon yelled. We will help, the clownfish announced, and that's just what they did. 4 clownfish, 3 crabs, 2 manta rays, and 1 octopus pulled and pulled and pulled, but Sheldon would not budge. Then they gave a loud sigh. I will never, ever be free. Sheldon's eyes filled with tears. Dum, dum, dum. Now you're thinking to yourself, Gavin, are you going to keep reading the story? I'm afraid I'm not going to keep reading the story, guys. I'm stopping right there. This is called a cliffhanger. You are dying to know. You're thinking, what happened? What happened to Sheldon? Did he get free? What happened to him? I don't know what happened. Well, if you want to know what happens to Sheldon, you better go onto the Upschool platform, click on library, find the book, and read the ending. I've got to tell you, it is an amazing ending. Number 2, if you're thinking, goodness me, Gavin, I would really like to write a book like that. You can. You can go on the Upschool platform, click learn, and go to write a book to save the world, and you can do just that. Very, very good. And the last thing I will say is, if you've already written a book, well, let's write another book. Let's write 2 books, or 3, or 5, or 10, or maybe 1,000. That's fine. Okay, now, everybody, thank you for coming. You've been amazing. It's amazing to see so many people here from Rise Experimental School. You guys are awesome. I hope you've enjoyed listening to all about the pigeon and how it ended World War II. What an amazing creature. Remember, you've got 3 things to do. Thing number 1, when you're walking through the city and you see a pigeon pecking at some seeds or a bit of bread or a branch, you've got to go over and say, excuse me, Mr. Pigeon, thank you so much. You are a hero. That's your first thing. Thing number 2, you've got to go and finish the end of the story. I only got to the cliffhanger. You better find out what happened to Sheldon. And thing number 3, you've got to write your own information report. And when you've finished, I want you to send it to me. I want to read it to the rest of the world. And if you don't know where to send it, it's right here. You can send it to me. This is my email address. And I promise you, if you send it, I will reply to you. Okay, everybody, thank you for coming. You have been amazing. Every single week at this exact time, I will be here to teach you. You've been unbelievable. What I would love you to do is give me a big wave before you leave and say goodbye. Thank you for coming, everybody. You have been unbelievable. You've been really well done. I love it. Don't worry about being shy. You're allowed to wave. There's nothing wrong with waving. It's completely fine. Okay, everybody, have a wonderful day. Take care. And happy, if anybody's in India on Monday, have a wonderful day in Indian Independence Day, everybody. Big celebrations to you. Take care of your mum, your dad, your family, your cat, your dog. And don't forget, the pigeon is a hero, not a pest. Okay, everybody, goodbye. Take care. See you later.
It's Richard Mills from Upschool here. For more amazing free lessons like this one, create a free account at upschool.co, and we can't wait to see you on our platform.